Over the years, there have been many deck profile archetypes to come out of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, but some have caught the eye of players more than the others. What are my personal favourites of all time? Well, in the return of Culture Blast, here is my top 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes of all time. Number 10 on this list is the Trap Tricks archetype. Now, for me, this is a little bit of a unique archetype because it basically works with a bunch of trap hole cards such as trap hole, bottomless trap hole, and those sorts of traps. Basically, it's very rare to have an archetype like this that relies on one sort of trap. But anyway, I've played around with this deck quite a few times in the past, and not only is it an interesting archetype, but I also do like the artwork. Also, this is one of the few deck profiles which have actually made use of the Silver Calcos. And it isn't too often I can find a deck profile that works well with Silver Calcos, I have to say. So, yeah, this is definitely an interesting archetype, and of course, the ability to activate trap hole, hold normal traps from the hand, also creates an option. A searcher as well, so it's a really good option, and you can do some serious damage to your opponent using the Trap Tricks archetype. So I think it's definitely a fun deck profile to use, and it's number 10 on this list. Number 9 on this list is one of the classic GX archetypes, Crystal Beasts. Now with Crystal Beasts, okay, granted they probably aren't as good as they used to be back in the days when it was first launched in 2006 and 2007, I believe. Yeah, I think that's right, because I think that was when Rainbow Dragon was released. But this set is still pretty fun. It's got some of my favourite artwork of all time, the archetype. And the ability to, instead of sending cards to the graveyard, sending them to the spell/trap zone as like crystals, just like in the anime, and then you can bring them out rapidly using Ruby Sapphire and some of the spell cards, like Crystal Beacon. It creates an interesting opportunity for Exceed summons in this deck. So basically, you can get a good amount of monsters to the field quickly using this deck. And it gives you a couple of options. In this replay, as you can see, I went for the more defensive options such as Mains, Rank 3 and Go-Go Cowboy, but you can make a whole variety of options using this deck. But yeah, it's a classic deck from the GX era, and it makes number 9 on this list. Number 8 is the ZW archetype. Now, as anyone that would have been following my channel for quite a few years, you would have known that I've tested around with ZWs quite a lot in the past. This was one of the first proper deck profiles I built for the YouTube channel, and it has a special connection with me, I think. I think it's a little bit slower than it used to be, I have to admit. But there is definitely a good amount of combos you can do. First off, you've got obviously you've got the ZW Fusion, which gives you a couple of options. Gives you a searcher, and it gives you a more powerful option, as the replay shows a bit later. But this deck profile is basically just is just basically to power up Utopia. So it makes Utopia a little bit more meta. So basically all the ZWs have different effects in this deck, and you can connect, I believe, as many ZWs as you can to a Utopia, or obviously C39, the Chaos versions, and also rank 100 and rank 99 also works for this deck. So you can definitely get Utopia up to ludicrous amounts of power, and I think it's quite a fun archetype to play around with. Number 7 on this list is a little bit of a more recent addition to this list, so it's a little bit of the opposites of ZWs. It is the Red Eyes Black Dragon archetype. Now, as a lot of my viewers recently would have known, I've been playing the Red Eyes Black Dragon deck profile quite a bit because of what you can do with it. First off, the new support, Blackstone of Legend, you can quickly get Red Eyes to the field just like that, very quick. Also, it's got 2 powerful fusions, one the Archfiend and Media Dragon, so it can cause some serious damage to your opponents. And let's be honest, it's Red Eyes Black Dragon, so it was one of the first cards I ever owned. So it's also a nostalgic set, and to see that where it is today, it is definitely a worthy placeholder on this list for number 7, I'd say. Another classic archetype which makes this list is Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now specifically the build I've gone with, the build I've decided to go with is the Ritual build. You can get Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon out really fast using Advanced Ritual Art, as the replay will show. Just like I said with Red Eyes, Blue Eyes is one of my favourite cards of all time, and possibly my favourite artwork of all time, but I'll save that discussion for another top 10 video in the future. But anyway, yes, you can definitely get a lot of power on your side of the board using the new Blue Eyes support. Sage with Eyes of Blue for pretty much an instant Blue Eyes as long as you have an effect monster on the field. So that creates a real good boost, and that's also why that card is so expensive these days, which is why I only have 2. Oh dear. But yes, I definitely have a lot of fun using this deck, and give maybe another year or 2 and this could be further up the list, but at the moment I'd say this is good in 6th place for now. Now we get into the top 5 for this list, and kicking things off, we have the Gusto archetype. Now just like I said with ZWs, if you've been following my channel for a long time, this was one of the first deck profiles I ever brought on this channel, and I'm still playing with this today, simply because it has some of my favourite artworks of all time. The Synchro mechanic I really enjoy playing, and it's not really a meta archetype, Gustos, but it's definitely very nostalgic because, like I said, this was one of the first deck profiles that I ever built, and it connected to me quite well. I enjoy the Synchro archetype. You got a lot of options. You got level 4, level 5, level 6, and level 7, as the replay shows. And Daigusto Goldus has helped me out quite a lot, along with Cerise. Cerise has helped me out quite a lot as well. So yeah, I would say this is definitely a very fun archetype to use. If there's ever more wind support, I'll definitely probably try out a new build of Gustos. But like I said, I enjoy playing this deck, and it makes number 5 on this list. Coming in at number 4 for a while, this was the most expensive deck profile I ever built, yeah, which shows kind of the budget I had, and this is the Mecha Phantom Beast Archetype. Now, I built this deck for 2 reasons. The first off is because the archetype is basically based on Real World Planes. Concord Ruda is based on the Concord. Mecha Phantom Beast Ecstatic is based on a... it's one of those scanner aircraft the military use. Wolf is based on the chopper, and I believe Hamstrad is based on a 747. So, for a person that likes the transports, yes, I know it's a little bit nerdy, even for me, it was something that definitely caught my eye. And second, I just generally found this deck really fun to use. The token archetype is something I hadn't really seen before in the Yu-Gi-Oh game. The fact that you can bring out tokens quite easily with this deck using combinations such as the trap card. Ecstatic allows you to special summon tokens, and if you use that with Mega Raptor you can get a free token as well. Basically, one of the main combos I like to use is Wolf, the chopper, and Mega Raptor, the fighter jet. So when Wolf brings out a token, Mega Raptor will give you another one. The tokens increase your level by the level of a Mecha Phantom Beast, usually by 3 stars, I believe. So obviously that's a quick rank 7 right there, so straight into Ecstatic. But yeah, I really find this deck profile fun to use, and I've been playing around with this deck for many years, and I'm still using it today. Now we're into the top 3, and kicking things off is the Dragonity archetype. Now I mentioned earlier that Gustos you can quickly get to the field. Well, with this one you can get even faster, thanks to 3 cards: Dragon Ravine, Dragonity Ducks, and Phalanx. Basically the combo is you go for Phalanx, well, put Phalanx in the graveyard, summon Ducks, that brings out Phalanx to your spell/trap, special summon Phalanx by its ability, it can go to Vajrayana, it can go for a quick level 8. Yeah, this is definitely a very fun deck to use. Like I said, some of my favourite artwork of all time in this archetype. And if you really like synchros, I would definitely recommend checking this deck out. And it's definitely a very fun deck to use, and never know, there might be more support for it in the future. There are certainly many different builds, but I'm happy with the build I've got, and it definitely makes number 3 on this list of my favourite deck profiles of all time. Now we get to the runner-up on this list, and I have to admit this was so close. I was genuinely considering putting this in number 1, but a couple of factors stopped me from prevented me from doing that. It is, of course, my favourite hidden arsenal archetype of all time. It is the Gem Knights. The Gem Knights, well, this is probably cliched by now, but once again, one of my favourite artwork designs of all time. I like the idea that they're based on elements like sapphire, ruby, citrine, obsidian. I just like that idea. Anyway, with this you can very quickly get out a couple of powerful fusions. I usually go for citrine because it negates the ability for the opponent to activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step, so basically traps and monster effects will be redundant. It's got decent attack, 2200, and of course with Blast. I can't remember the name of the card at the time of recording this audio, but as the replay shows, the fire card. Dang it. So basically run 3 of those in the deck. You can quickly get them back to your hand along with Gemini Fusion, so you can just spam out Citrine or maybe even I think Ruby. No, I think Ruby does need the normal monster to work. But yeah, anyway, you can definitely get a lot of fusions out of this deck. I don't tend to go for exceeds using this. I just basically just get out the fusions because you can get them out very easily. And yeah, it's definitely a very fun deck profile to use. But I was generally considering putting this in number 1 because I've had so much fun playing this over the years. But when I thought about it, there was one archetype which I just could not ignore to put in the number 1 spot. And coming in the number 1 on this list, we have Elemental Heroes. Now with Elemental Heroes, it's probably the most classic of archetypes from the GX series. Obviously it's Jade and Yuki's archetype, but it's very rare that the main archetype gets proper play. Well, until recently, of course. But with this one, it definitely received quite a lot of play back in the day. And even today, it still gets a decent amount of support. It's, of course, it's got Blazeman, it's got Shadow, I believe, Shadow, something like that. And then, of course, it's got the new fusions, the Moss Hero support. This creates a lot of good options for this deck, and yeah, it's definitely a very fun archetype to play around with. This is one of the first archetypes I fell for and I wanted to play for, so I wanted to play, and yeah, it's also I suspect this is also quite a few other people's favourite archetypes as well. So yes, that is definitely number 1 on this list for me. Like I said, it almost got beat by Geminites, but when I thought about it, Elemental Heroes has meant something special to me all these years. So there is my top 10 personal favourite archetypes of all time. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Culture Blast, and I'll see you soon. For now, this is MrKingLiam signing out.